India Today, Rajdeep Sardesai is also with us. Rajdeep, what do you make of this charge? Rahul Gandhi making a reference to the newspaper report. Interestingly, the government submission to the Supreme Court last year was about the negotiations that were conducted by a 7-member team headed by the Deputy Chief of Air Staff with no mention of the Prime Minister's office. But this report that has been accessed by the Congress party, this newspaper report states just the opposite.
Well, I think as you've seen over the last year, Rahul Gandhi has had about almost a dozen press conferences like this. Every time there is any fresh information available on the manner in which the Rafale deal was conducted, Rahul Gandhi addresses the press from the Congress headquarters. And I think this particular press conference was significant because it comes a day after the Prime Minister launched a scathing attack on the Congress and the Gandhi family in Parliament. It comes a day after Robert Vadra has been interrogated for a second consecutive day on allegations that he had Benami properties in London. Rahul Gandhi has stuck to the narrative on Rafale that the Prime Minister's office negotiated the Rafale deal independently of the Defence Minister and Defence Ministry at the time. So I think this letter, in a sense, only vindicates his stand that the Prime Minister's office was directly negotiating on the Rafale deal. However, the question still remains, is there a money trail? Is there any benefits that Anil Ambani specifically got, or was the 30,000 crore offset contracts given to a variety of multiple companies as the Prime Minister's office is claiming? So I think Rahul Gandhi is now on a strong wicket when he questions the procedures that were followed and whether the Defence Ministry was bypassed. However, on the question of the money trail and whether Anil Ambani was the sole beneficiary, I think there is a huge question mark that still remains. However, this is now political season. Rahul Gandhi is determined to press this his point that he believes that the Prime Minister is not this clean chowkidar image that Mr. Modi has tried to project over the last 5 years. So in the election context, it will be part of Rahul Gandhi's continuing attempt to somehow or the other ensure that the Prime Minister does not retain the chowkidar image, something that Mr. Modi tried to refurbish yesterday in the manner that he spoke. And when Robert Vadra is investigated, when Mr. Chidambaram goes and is also questioned, the Prime Minister wants to strengthen his chowkidar image. Rahul Gandhi is saying chowkidar chor hai. That is going to be a running theme in a sense of Rahul Gandhi's campaign.
And he's been very consistent, sir, hasn't he? He's just been on it. There's no letting go of this matter. I mean, today, in fact, reporters even asking about Mr. Robert Vadra being subjected to interrogation. His firm reply was, bring it on. We're ready for any investigation. We're ready for the fight. What do you make of Mr. Rahul Gandhi being in such a belligerent mode, this full throttle attack that he's been launching at the Prime Minister and at the BJP specifically as far as Rafale is concerned as well?
I think it is all. I think, Avantika, this is part of Rahul Gandhi's sort of attempt at an image makeover, showing himself as someone who's not going to back off. If you remember, even yesterday he said, "Pradhan Mantri darpok hai," and is running scared. So I think Rahul Gandhi wants to send out the message that he's equal of the Prime Minister, because for the longest time the sense one gets, the perception battle has been won by Prime Minister Modi in the past, that he is this muscular leader. Rahul Gandhi now wants to say that despite all the talk of a muscular leader, the Prime Minister is someone running scared on answering the questions on Rafale. So I think Rahul Gandhi has found in Rafale an issue to target the Prime Minister's larger-than-life image, and he will use every opportunity to somehow or the other downsize and undermine the Prime Minister when it comes to this chowkidar image.
All right, Rajdeep Sardesai, thank you so much for joining us. Maushmi, I'll just come back to you, but Sardar R.P. Singh is also joining us from the BJP. Sir, thanks so much for speaking to us. Mr. Rahul Gandhi is making a reference here to a newspaper report. He's talking about just how there was an objection raised by the Ministry of Defence to the parallel talks that were being carried out by the Prime Minister's office, which only undermined their process, the questioning process and the negotiations as well.
Well, I'll appreciate if Mr. Rahul Gandhi can come with some iota of evidence of corruption. I mean, the procedures, that you say, but is there any iota of corruption? Is there any document on record of any iota of corruption? He keeps speaking about some 30,000 crore rupees. I'll appreciate. Let him bring out some evidence on that. People who are themselves on bail and other one under interrogation, They talk about this. When he talks about Chowkidar Chor, I say Jija Sala Chor hai. Gali gali mein shor hai, Jija Sala Chor hai. You understand? You can loudmouth whatever, but you need evidence. You need document. And I'm giving a challenge.
But the documents are there. He's making a reference. There are signatures. In fact, the Defence Secretary's firm opposition.
Please understand, ma'am. I've seen that on you. I'm seeing that on your TV. Plus, where is the reference for anything which led to that? There is some corruption on it. Tell me a single piece of iota of corruption issue. You talk about corruption. I'm talking about especially about procedures. Point aside. Who takes initiative? Point aside. But let's talk about corruption. Is there any document on corruption? And if he has one, please, I'll appreciate. Let him go to Supreme Court.
No, but were there parallel negotiations? I agree that there is no mention of any corruption in this particular newspaper report, but were there parallel negotiations? Is it true that the Ministry of Defence had raised objections and had said that this undermines their negotiation parlays with the French government over this deal? Were there two parallel negotiations going on, one from MOD and the PMO's office?
See, try to understand. You can, Mr. Rahul Gandhi can keep shifting goalposts. Yesterday I heard him. He said 30,000 crore, 30,000 crore. No, he's not today. He's not speaking of that. But the issue is, the bigger issue is there any iota? And can tell me one deal which has happened in UP regime without corruption? And I'm giving a challenge.
No, sir. The question is, were there parallel discussions by the PMO as far as this deal is concerned?
I have no privacy to that, and there could have been one. I have no privacy to that. But my question still says that they have not a iota of any document on corruption. And then he has no right to speak on the issue because he himself is out on bail and his GI is under question now.
All right. We'll leave it at that. Sardar R.P. Singh, thank you so much for your time.
Of course, it's corporate warfare. It's absolutely corporate warfare between corporates and the Defence Ministry. And Mr. Narendra Modi is the representative of Mr. Anil Ambani. Absolutely. The Prime Minister is right. 100%. He is the one who's done this. Here it's written here. Please do not do parallel negotiations. Who's he doing parallel negotiations for you? For not for you. Is he doing them for you? No, he's doing them for Anil Ambani.
Ankit Tyagi joins us for more on this. And Ankit, this is a very, very damning report accessed by the Congress party. Rahul Gandhi now heading out at the Prime Minister, accusing the PMO of having these parallel negotiations to which the MOD had raised objections.
Well, it was a very, very vicious attack by Rahul Gandhi on the Prime Minister. In fact, a direct attack on him. In fact, went ahead and called Prime Minister an agent for the Ambanis. He, in fact, said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi was negotiating for the Anil Ambani and not for the country. And what has given him this ammunition, Avantika, a renewed attack on Rafale, because this was, in the last few months, was becoming, you know, a cassette which has been used or a CD which was stuck on the allegations without any proper proof from the Congress party. They were waiting for some legal document, and this is what is the new ammunition for them. The paper, in fact, which has been now used by Rahul Gandhi to attack the Prime Minister. This is a report. This is a note and a report which has been submitted by, in fact, the JS and Acquisitions Air, and he writes, this is Mr. S.K. Sharma, Deputy Secretary, Air 2, and this is for November 24th, 2015. Very clearly, and these are the points that we are highlighting. He said that the Prime Minister is tantamount in these negotiations. The French side may take advantage of two parallel negotiations which are going on. He then goes on to say, this has weakened the position taken by the Indian negotiating team. Apart from that, and very scathing, is the last paragraph, the point number 5 which has been made in this. It says the parallel discussion by the Prime Minister's office has weakened the negotiating team's position and of the MOD. If the Prime Minister has no faith, then they can go ahead and start the negotiations only on their own. Now, why is the Congress taking this on? As R.P. Singh was saying, there is no iota of corruption.
Yes.
Well, there might not be a direct, cash transfer or any sort of money trade. But the fact remains, did this benefit the French, and did India buy Rafale not at the best deal as claimed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Absolutely. Shaina NC is also joining us from the BJP. Ankit, I'm just going to come to you. It's a very important issue here that's being raised by the Congress party. Shaina, did you hear Rahul Gandhi? He's once again launched this attack on the Prime Minister, making a reference to a newspaper report about how the Ministry of Defence had in fact raised objections to these parallel negotiations and had said that this undermines their negotiating process. How do you respond?
Firstly, I want to say that there is no question of any kind of corruption when it comes to Rafale. The Honorable Supreme Court themselves have said that there has been no commercial favoritism, and the facts are in the public domain. Now, if 4 independent petitions have all been dismissed with the Honorable Supreme Court, I don't think that we need a certificate as to whether there was wrongdoing or not.
But doesn't it undermine the negotiating position of another party? I mean, here we are talking about the Ministry of Defence. Were there parallel negotiations that were going on by the Prime Minister's office?
Absolutely not. I don't think that we need to fall privy to unsubstantiated allegations. We're not looking for a certificate. We are looking for the nation's security as paramount. And for those who are trying to suggest that there is a weakening position taken by the Indian government, the facts are in the public domain. And in a court of law, let the Honorable Supreme Court decide. And it is all in the public territory, so to speak. So I don't think there's any question when it comes to the Prime Minister's intent or intention.
But ma'am, there are also signatures. I don't know if you've read this report, the newspaper report that Mr. Rahul Gandhi is making a reference to. There are signature reports, there are signatures, and according to this report, the Defence Ministry in fact had highlighted this, that parallel negotiations conducted by the PMO had came to the Raksha Mantri's notice as well. They had raised objections. They said that this is not fair, this is not done, it is in bad light, it undermines their position as well. It's all there in public domain.
Well, as I said, the Dassault CEO who gave the initial interview to Smita Prakash of ANI says it as it is, that there was no pressure on them for any kind of choice. It is their choice as far as the offset clause goes, and there was no commercial favoritism, and this has been testified in a court of law. So I think that in the days to come, let the truth unfold as it is, and let's not succumb to any kind of hearsay or conspiracy theory.
Right. Shaina, if you could just kindly stay on with me. My colleague Ankit would also just ask you one question, please.
Shaina, very quickly, because you were saying that this is hearsay, not based on documents, and you also mentioned the Dassault CEO. Should the people of this country, in fact, go by what Dassault CEO, who has commercial interest in this deal, or by an official of the Ministry of Defence who was part of the negotiating team, whose note is being referred here, which says that this is undermining the position of the negotiating team. This also is giving an advantage to the French. There might not be any money trail when it comes to the corruption charge, but doesn't this tell you that possibly the best deal was not negotiated?
Ankit, I think that we've made it clear on multiple fronts. The Raksha Mantri has spoken, the Prime Minister has spoken, and the Supreme Court of this country has spoken based on facts. So every time, people flaunt dubious papers, you've had a CEO of the concerned company saying there was no pressure on him. You have the Supreme Court saying there was no commercial favoritism. So I don't understand why we should succumb to any kind of theory which is being flouted for reasons best known at the time of election.
But Ankit, it's very interesting. When I was reading this report, there's also this part that states that the Defence Ministry protested that the position taken by the PMO, quote unquote, was contradictory to the stand taken by the MOD and the negotiating team, which makes one wonder as to what really was a stand that was taken that could have been viewed as being contradictory by the Ministry of Defence.
And this is exactly what the BJP spokesperson right now are finding it hard to, in fact, answer, Avantika. You asked this to RP Singh. We also spoke to Shaina NC. They have merit in the argument that, listen, Supreme Court has validated the process, but the fact remains with the light of these new documents which has come out. And these are the documents not by anybody else. These have not been produced by the Congress party, but from a secretary-level officer in the Ministry of Defence who was part of these negotiations.
True.
Now, this raises the question whether India got the best deal. whether it was for, as Rahul Gandhi is making these political potshots, he was working as an agent for XYZ, that doesn't matter. The question right now is, if there were parallel negotiations, if the MOD is saying that this undermines the effort or the position of the Indian negotiating team, and it gives an advantage to the French, did we get the best deal is the big question.
And that's the big question that has been consistently raised by the Congress, especially the Congress President Rahul Gandhi.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you would love to.